This podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football, and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network. Every club, every day.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and a very warm welcome to the final day of the Premier League season. It has arrived and we are here to review it with you. Who clinched the title? That was done months ago. Who is going to be relegated? That was done months ago. However, today was the crux of European football and decided which teams would go forth in the 2025-2026 Premier League season and play European football next year. On a day where Villa had an opportunity to put themselves in Champions League football, and a disallowed goal could be the difference between that and happening. Chelsea managed away day blues to defeat Forest, and Villa missing out, as I've already said, on Champions League controversially with a man sent off. There's a lot that's gone on today, and we're going to jump straight into the Premier League results. I'm joined by the one and only Michał. How are you, sir?
Hi, I'm super tired after the rehearsals for the opening ceremony for the Conference League final in Wrocław. So that is why, like you see, the different setting behind me. So I'm in Wrocław, Poland, and we are just getting ready for the final. But of course, I did not forget about the final match day of the Premier League. I mean, what kind of a Premier League podcaster would I be if I forgot about the final match day, right?
You're not kidding. So in the games that mattered, we had Nottingham Forest against Chelsea. That was a huge game for Forest, and they've had a fantastic season. However, Chelsea came out on top with a 1-0 victory. Man City played against Fulham, who were also chasing European football, but City managed to do a comfortable professional result and performance, getting a 2-0 victory over Fulham away from home. Bournemouth saw a 2-0 victory to Leicester. Wolves and Brentford shared the result with a 1-1 finish there. Man United had one of the first clean sheets for a very long time against Aston Villa, who needed a win to creep into Champions League football. However, today it wasn't meant to be. We're going to jump into that and how that affects the Champions League and European football. Newcastle, however, did need a result, but didn't get one against Everton as they lost 1-0 at home. However, they managed to clinch the final spot in the Champions League position. Other results, Ipswich Town lost 3-1 to West Ham, and Tottenham got absolutely smashed by Brighton, who were chasing European football. However, that didn't alter things. So, as it finishes the Premier League season and we wanted to know who qualified for what, Liverpool and Arsenal, as we knew before this game week, had already qualified for Champions League football. The teams joining them make up Man City in third place. Fourth place was Chelsea, and the final Champions League place goes to Newcastle, with also Tottenham Hotspur, which I can't quite honestly believe it, who finished almost, I think it was 17th in the table, 16th, down there somewhere. Clinched the final one for winning the Europa League final against Manchester United. We've also got European spots going to Aston Villa and respectively Crystal Palace. They're both getting the Europa League positions in the Europe next year. And finally, Nottingham Forest, who've had an exponential season for them. However, it only feels disappointing that I'm saying they've clinched a Conference League place. Michał, I've said so much there. Please correct anything that was inaccurate.
To be honest, everything was accurate here. And when you just look at the table, I mean, when you just, for example, look at how this table shaped up, especially in positions 4 and 5, you just can't quite believe that the only reason Newcastle, because like Newcastle and Aston Villa, they finished that season with 66 points each. So the only reason Newcastle United qualified for Champions League phase next season is because of a superior goal difference. And that is such a sorrow way to lose, or to miss out on Champions League football from Aston Villa. But then again, all they needed to do was to defeat Manchester United, which seemed so easy throughout the entire season, and yet they didn't do it. So that is not our problem, of course, from Man United perspective. But just seriously now, I think Unai Emery will have a huge hangover from this last match day, as he had Champions League at the grasp, and just let it slip through his hands. And also, what is quite intriguing is, I think we already mentioned that many times in our previous installments of Daily English Premier League, that the position of Chelsea, the final position of Chelsea in the table, would be the main decider of whether the 8th position in the Premier League table would grant European football. And the answer is no. Why is that? It's because Chelsea finished too high for that condition to be met. So Chelsea finished 4th, Newcastle finished 5th. So Chelsea already got granted the Champions League football, so which means even if Chelsea won the Conference League final, the Europa League spot will not get transferred to Nottingham Forest. So, well, if there is no transferring going on, that means that Brighton, which finished 8th, will not get any European football. And to be honest, sadly, because looking at how Aston Villa played today, looking at how Nottingham Forest they just let that slip as well, in terms of some better quality European football. It just seems kind of harsh, really, because Brighton, they just destroyed the the Europa League holders at Tottenham Hotspur. I guess that is the champion curse, I guess. Unfortunately. So, oh God, I'm just terrible. So yeah, and so just all in all, that was a super exciting season. And I'm going to miss it from the neutral standpoint, but I'm sure as hell I'm not going to miss it from Man United perspective. And
talking about the Man United perspective, I think 2 games to look at really that could have been the big difference here is Chelsea playing away at Nottingham Forest. They had a shocking record going into this, winning just 1 of their last 10 away games. And nor did the fact that they'd already lost at every other top 7 side this season. They've managed to shake those away with a comfortable win. Chris Wood had a couple of really big chances for Forest, but you've got to give it to Chelsea. Their season's been, it's been very turbulent at times. They've been questioned. Maresca was asked at the start of the season, or towards the start of the season, whether they could be title challengers. They heavily slipped off and then regained form. And for them to get Champions League football next year is a huge, huge, huge step in the right direction for them as a club. I also have to make an honourable mention to Aston Villa. I'm a little bit disappointed. I know that sounds a bit strange coming from a United fan. But Villa needed to go to Old Trafford today, and they were the difference. I'm just going to check this, of 1 point. So a draw today would have put them into Champions League football ahead of Newcastle. And that's where the controversy happened. Martinez was sent off in a very similar circumstance to the FA Cup final and Dean Henderson, not with a handball, but challenge and it being going to VAR and seeing if it's clear and obvious. I have to say that it was a sending off. Yep. And that's not a biased opinion. I think it was a clear goal scoring opportunity and it was a foul. So I think that decision in itself was correct. The one that I'm not sure about, to the letter of the law, yes, but I also think that the referee has potentially caused a rod for his own back, because the only reason it couldn't go to VAR was that the whistle had gone before the ball was put in the back of the net. He'd already given the foul, so the decision had already been made, hence why they couldn't go to VAR and check that decision. But the question was whether the goalkeeper had 2 hands on the ball and the striker took it out of his hands. I'm not sure that happened. However, as you said, it's a very bitter pill for Unai Emery and Aston Villa to swallow, knowing that goal difference is the only reason, and potentially that decision. Yeah, I mean, United played well. That's nothing against United. It's one of the best performances I've ever seen, but I do think that Villa were poor on a day where it really mattered. But that Morgan Rogers goal being ruled out is potentially the difference between them playing Champions League football.
Mm-hmm. And to be honest, it's so ironic that the place where Aston Villa missed out on Champions League football was Old Trafford, the place where almost every single away team could win. Even we're talking about Wolverhampton, we're talking about West Ham, and yet Aston Villa didn't make it. I guess maybe it's again we could just take this discussion back to the fatigue. Like the fatigue of by the season, but you know what? Again, you can just use that argument about fatigue so much until you realize that Aston Villa were praised for their great moves, during winter transfer window. So, is that really accurate to say that it's fatigue? That is I think that is a legitimate question. How much can you speak about the challenges of the season without realizing that maybe fatigue wasn't the only reason why you didn't make it to Champions League? I'm really interested in your point here.
So what do you mean that the fatigue isn't the reason that Villa have missed out on Champions League football?
Probably because because I understand even on this podcast we've been talking pretty much about the challenges of the season and how Unai Emery is trying to rotate the squad as much as he can, as much as he could. And yet, against Man United, of course, they played well, just like you said. But, should we put that defeat by Unai Emery's side on the back of them being fatigued? Or maybe there's more? Because,
it's an interesting point. I also think that we tend to overlook the fact that there's 37 other games that have been played. And because all of this penned on this one result, that we forget all the other opportunities. And I'm sure there's points in Unai Emery's mind where he'll look back and think, we could have picked up a point here or there. There's definitely going to be points where they know they could have got a draw or won when they didn't. I think the hard thing for him here is playing against a side that is away from home and has very little to play for. There's a lot of controversy that goes with Manchester United. And unfortunately for them, they will go into a place where maybe the emphasis wasn't just on them getting the result. It was more about what is that going to look like. You've got players at Manchester United who are playing. I'm guaranteed that some of those people won't be playing next season. In fact, we know Christian Eriksen. I'm pretty sure Johnny Evans won't be there. If he is, I'll be shocked. There's going to be a list of names that we'll see over the summer that won't be there.
Garnacho too.
Garnacho, I don't think he featured today, but yeah, absolutely. Your point is right. I think it's commendable to mention what Aston Villa did do. I mean, the fact that they took PSG over 2 legs. The Villa Park second leg for me was very, very good, taking them to extra time and really, really pushing them. Shows the quality and depth that they've got. I'm just disappointed that they've not made Champions League football. However, maybe the Europa League will be a better way for them to manage. I also think his signings this year have been some of the best that we've seen.
Yep.
The Marcus Rashford, Asensio. There's so many players, and we thought, I can't remember who did they lose. Did they get rid of a player that was massive?
Who? Like Aston Villa?
Yeah, my brain's just switched off as I'm speaking. Anyway, they've managed to account for all of those things, and they've unfortunately missed out. But Aston Villa are a team who are now stamping their authority on the fact that they're a side in the Premier League who deserve European football, whether that be the Champions League or Europa League. And I think that from a Villa fan perspective, is a high achievement. They're now. I thought that they would miss out on European football after being a season with Champions League football and Premier League football. So, although it's really disappointing today, and that maybe results didn't go their way, for them as a whole, I would say that this is an exceptional result and consistency.
Yeah, and to be honest, there is one thing that if anybody out there says that, oh, Aston Villa, they missed out on Champions League, haha, like you basically you failed to cross the finish line in time. I would go, you know what, guys? At least Aston Villa will get any European football, which is more than we can say about Manchester United. So if anybody out there now wants to jump on the bandwagon of basically using Aston Villa as the butt of a distasteful joke, I'll just say, guys, read the room. Really, read the room. Unai Emery really deserved this European spot. He got it. Of course, it's not Champions League, but then again, they will be getting, European football, and they will be getting money as a result of that, because this is also important. And Man United will not. So, I guess that sums up our entire discussion here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess to conclude, as we are both Man United fans on this section of it, is to talk about Ruben Amorim and the fact that he will probably, or more than likely, definitely be there when we start the new campaign. And just to touch on that, something that I did think about the other day when it immediately came out after the loss in the Europa League final, that maybe he might be sacked after the result. It's probably important to mention that Jurgen Klopp lost the Europa League final in his first year at Liverpool. He then went on to buy Mane, Wijnaldum and Matip, and they sold 6 or 7 players in his first summer. They didn't sack anybody, and they gave a manager proper time. And all I get from Ruben Amorim is someone who's really honest, has a method. He also doesn't tolerate he's got an expectation on players, and whether we agree with what's happened with Rashford or Ronaldo, he hasn't tolerated it. He hasn't allowed that those big names in the club dictate how you can approach his what's the word, ethos. And I hope that is the time that he needs, and he's able to put his ethos further into the football club, as they've only now got the Premier League to focus on.
Yeah, and to be honest, okay, about this discussion about Ruben Amorim's rule over Man United, I would say that there is one decision that I kind of wish that he hadn't made, and that would be about Marcus Rashford. Yes, how many, there are so many opinions as there are Man United fans all over the world about Marcus Rashford, really, whether he should have stayed or he should have gone the way he did. Like for me, like personally, I think that by getting rid of Marcus Rashford, and probably we will never see him as long as Ruben Amorim is in charge of Man United in the Man United shirt. That was just short-sightedness, because I remember like how fit Marcus Rashford was in those first games of the season, and how much he was just trying to make a difference, and he just got sidelined. It's just like that. Like for me, it's unacceptable. That is an unacceptable way how to lead like a football club, like at the level of Premier League. So yeah, but other than that, I have a lot of hopes in Ruben Amorim, and like just like we said after like a one bad Manchester United game, like somewhere like in like a mid spring, we said that now all we want is for this season to end, and this has just happened. The season has just ended, and now the cleaning begins. The cleansing of the dressing room begins. And just like you've already touched on that like it's already happening. Like Garnacho's already shown the door. Eriksen has already shown the door. Hopefully Bruno Fernandes will stay, but hopefully there will be no new financial nuance, because I think that would be the only reason why Bruno Fernandes would have to leave. But other than that, I have hopes for Bruno Fernandes Mateus Cunha connection for next season. Hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing that it does do, and I know that financially there's huge loss for the club, but it does mean that your signings have to be extremely tactical. You have to sign players that maybe you wouldn't be able to afford. And that means that we're not requiring a big name to come into the club and do a huge job. We're going to be buying people that maybe are less well known, but he can build, and they have the right capabilities that he wants. I think it's a fantastic opportunity, and I have a lot of hope leading forward. as many people should. So, as Manchester United transform themselves, how about you transform yourselves with Bioniq?
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right level to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Yeah, make sure you check that out. And now we're going to move into the awards section of our podcast today. The people who come away with the accolades, the stats that will remain as stats for the rest of their lives. And I think we can start with no other place than the Egyptian king. He is an absolute joke of a footballer, one that I begrudgingly say I'm very fun to watch. It is, of course, Mo Salah, who has won, again, accolades that go beyond it. He's one of very few who've joined the exclusive club of joining the two-time winning best voted Premier League player of the season. He's also gone on to join Andy Cole and Alan Shearer in matching their most goal involvements against Crystal Palace as he scored to equalise for them at Anfield today. I've already said it. He's a ridiculous footballer that I think Liverpool is a necessity that they keep hold of him for next season if they want to retain any success. Because I think he's somebody that you could class as irreplaceable.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for Mohamed Salah, probably Liverpool fans would have to suffer through Darwin Núñez misses, which were like that was a delight to watch for us, but it was like some dreadful for Liverpool fans. But luckily, there was also the Egyptian king, and he basically shut our mouths. And if there were any critics of the Egyptian king, now there should not be any, really. And also, what's also worth mentioning is that Salah achieved like this all-time, like him equaling the all-time record for most combined goals and assists by a player in a campaign. So that feat was also achieved by Andrew Cole and Alan Shearer, like you said. Salah's what makes Salah's feat all the greater is the fact that he has achieved it in a 38 match season, whereas Cole and Shearer reached their 47 goal involvements in 42 match seasons because, well, the Premier League was slightly bigger in 1995-96 than it is now. So, wow, I mean, we have to bow. We have to bow to, Salah should take a bow and we should just applaud him, really.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we've definitely got to acknowledge his achievements and the fact that that they've got a 2-year contract extension at the club, and they got pulled that off in April. He's now third on the highest goal scorers for Liverpool, behind some incredible names: Ian Rush, Roger Hunt, and he's on 245 goals. So he's 101 goals behind Ian Rush, and he's got 2 years to try and catch that. At his rate currently, that I think that will achieve across all competitions. He's got a stellar chance of maybe getting close to becoming an all-time great at Liverpool, if you can't already class him as being an all-time great.
Yeah, and to be honest, I just can't wait to see what's going to happen next season with him, and probably maybe there will be some new exciting link-ups within Liverpool's squad between Salah and other players, because I cannot believe that Liverpool would not go shopping. I mean, with so great prospects, I really think that Liverpool will go shopping this season. Excuse me, not this season, but this transfer window. Really sorry, I'm just so tired from rehearsals.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Know what I'm saying.
I think you're bang on. I think keeping Salah for another 2 years is fantastic, but building a stronger side around him or adding to the depth they're just in such a great position.
Yeah.
At the minute, as you rightly say, over the summer, I'm sure they will add names and get rid of a few names that maybe haven't lived up to expectation. this season, and they've managed to go on without. We're now going to move on to goalkeepers, and this actually makes me quite proud because if you went back into the archives at the start of the season, I actually predicted that. I maybe went a bit overboard, but I did say that David Raya is an exceptional goalkeeper. And maybe he isn't an exceptional goalkeeper, and maybe there are a couple of doubts over his consistency as a goalkeeper. However, he does come away with the Golden Glove, joined by Matt Salles for Nottingham Forest, and it's a great achievement that they've managed to do. 13 clean sheets between them, and respectively. I know that Arsenal fans will feel that they've underachieved this year, but both clubs have put in, a stellar effort. Arsenal significantly dropped away towards the end of the season, which, when you need trophies, is going to be disappointing. Especially when you look at like the Champions League results, pulling off the Real Madrid fixture and then going out in the fashion that they did against PSG, I think will be highly disappointing. And it just proves that it's a little step too far for them. But it's good to know that they've got a solid goalkeeper in Raya, and also for Forest going forward, having Sells between the sticks as they enter the Conference League, and I'm sure we'll want to hit the hopes of regaining a similar output that they did today this season. Having those two people as goalkeepers is a great thing for a club to go into the next season.
Yeah. To be honest, like I would like if I do not really think that Arsenal will make this mistake and just let Araya go, because like if they did, they would just be like that would be the biggest blunder of the summer transfer window. He's staying and he's here to basically have this opportunity in next season to try to join Reina and Hart as the only goalkeepers to win the award 3 seasons in a row. So that's also interesting. But you know what? There is one more thing. I've just taken a look at the Golden Glove winners from 2004 all the way until today, and from what I saw, like if I see correctly, David Raya and Matt Sells and their 13 clean sheets are the fewest ever by a Golden Glove winner.
Yeah.
What does that tell you?
Yeah, I saw that stat, and I didn't know where to go with it. I don't know what that means. Does it mean that the levels of goals being scored in a average Premier League game has improved, or does it mean that the goalkeeping has significantly, or defending as a whole has gone worse over the years? I don't know. It's difficult to say.
To be honest, like if I were to follow my gut instinct, I would say that Premier League is becoming more and more competitive, and basically what worked couple like I don't know in the season of 2004 2005 no longer works today. So there are new ways how to approach the goal of the opponent. There are more ways how to open this defense up so that you can just penetrate it and just go for the goal. It's becoming more and more difficult for goalkeepers to keep clean sheets, and I like unless we have like some change in trend again. Maybe we will just go to some neo tiki-taka, for example. Unless we see that, I am pretty sure that the winners of Golden Glove will have less and less clean sheets gradually as we move on to the future.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, just to highlight, because obviously Raya played in a team that finished second, was playing Champions League football. Your expectations of them would be a lot more, whereas Nottingham Forest would naturally come under more pressure throughout the season, as just they're not as established as a top of the table side. So just to shout out to Sells, who comes. There's a few facts here that he comes the only second Forest player to win a Premier League Golden Award, right behind Teddy Sheringham, who did it in 92-93, and he won the Golden Boot. He's also the only second Belgian goalkeeper to win the Golden Glove, straight after Thibaut Courtois, 2016-17, and also he becomes the first goalkeeper outside of Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City and Man United to win the award since it was launched in 2004, 2005. I think those facts tell you two things really. They say how well he's done as a goalkeeper, but also why we shouldn't underestimate how well Nottingham Forest have done this year.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest, that also goes, and that this is the kind of like a slight problem I have with the Golden Glove award, because of course, like we should honor goalkeepers. That is of course obvious, but what I mean is that clean sheets are more times than not achieved not only by the goalkeeper but also by the entire defensive block. And I think we should have basically take a look at those first games of Forest, like from this first half of the season, and you will see that Milenkovic on form, among other centre backs of Nottingham Forest, they have done incredibly well, and they made basically the task for the Belgian goalkeeper of Nottingham Forest easier slightly to reach this Golden Glove award. So that award for Sels is not only the reward for him, it's a reward for the entire defensive block of Nottingham Forest, especially for this first half of the season. Nuno Espirito Santo, again, so we can link him up here as well for choosing the right tactics as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we continue with the plaudits, let's move on to the Premier League Young Player of the Year, which goes to a man who you really just can't argue with. And it kind of solidifies my theory of having a strong spine of a team is pivotal to be able to have a successful campaign. And I think that's what Liverpool have got. They've got people who up front can finish in Mo Salah, who's been notably mentioned for that. You've got a goalkeeper that is classed as one of the best in the world, a centre back that's classed as best in the world, and you've got Ryan Gravenberch, who's also now named as one of the best young players of the Premier League season. He ranks so highly in all the stats, but he's such a pivotal role in there. He's the anchor of that midfield, and doing that job defensively, you've got to be matching or hitting the top three, I think, of most of these stats that I'm about to read to you. He's the leader of interceptions with 59, ranks among the top Liverpool players this season who time possession won, so he's won possession for his team, with a total of 109 being the fifth most anyone in the Premier League has ever done. He ranks second for passes, third for duels, tackles made, minutes played. Although, despite his defensive role, he's done loads going forward. He's contributed with assists. And obviously, I think it's been a really pivotal part in Liverpool's winning season title. And that's the kind of football club that, I look through green eyes at. And they've got young players who are coming into this team and having such a drastic impact and allowing the established players around them to make that a safe area. And if you compare that to other teams, such as Man United, you've got young players like Kobe Mainoo or Garnacho, who are coming into a squad with players that are not established, that are not confident, and expecting them to do the job of a confident person. And that's the huge difference in how the clubs are being run at the minute. So hats off to Ryan Gravenberch. I think what an incredible achievement, and he's destined for great things.
Yeah, he really is, and basically an honest slots puzzle. Gravenberch was the dude who was he needed to be put in that midfield, and he was basically the missing piece of the puzzle. And that was one of the reasons why, for example, Mo Salah. He did not have to worry about having to go back to defense a lot of times. No, he didn't have to do it at all because he had some great midfielders, including Gravenberch, for this season for Liverpool. And I mean, in terms of fellow nominees who also were up for this award of the young player of the season, Liam Delap, Anthony Elanga, Dean Huyson, Cole Palmer, Joao Pedro, Morgan Rogers, William Saliba. That is quite a competition, and to win that, to win the award over all those other nominees that I just read, that is an incredible achievement. So Ryan Gravenberch joins Cole Palmer, Erling Haaland, Phil Foden, and Trent Alexander-Arnold from those last seasons, those recent seasons. And congratulations to him. And I'm really, really curious as to how the Dutchman will grow, how he will improve, how big of a pain in the neck he will be for the teams playing against Liverpool.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's doing it in a position that is so pivotal in the modern day. You know, that link up play between defence and giving respite to the team defensively, but also breaking down other teams. It's just such an established role, I think, in the modern day that you can hang your hat on names that we know through history that have made, like the Makelele position. You know, Claude Makelele made that position. There's just so many people that have established really well in that position, and I hope that he continues to do so. As we continue to put out fantastic podcasts to you using the fantastic platform that is Zencastr.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out as the clear winner, with 4K video recording from your phone, AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs. It's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the description to learn more about Zencastr.
Absolutely. Check it out. Make sure you acknowledge it. And as we here on the Daily English Premier League podcast wrap up the Premier League season, we thought it'd be nice to do so to commemorate all the things that have gone on, all the podcasters that have taken place over this season, and look forward to our summary of what we think has been fair, unfair, over-exceeded our expectation, under-exceeded our expectations, but also an honourable mention to the Liverpool fans that have been on our show, who are a staple part of our show here at the Daily English Premier League podcast. And yeah, Louis being one of those guys who's, as we know, at Anfield today and enjoying those celebrations and making memories with thousands of Liverpool fans. It must be a really nice and special day, and one that I don't want to go on about too much, as it is Liverpool, but a fair acknowledgement is key.
Yeah, absolutely. And all the congratulations to Louis Easton for celebrating the title, the 20th title of Liverpool as far as Premier League goes. We will not be super outrageous as to say that Liverpool did not deserve the Premier League trophy, as much as we hate to admit it, but they did deserve it, because 25 victories, 9 draws, and only 4 defeats. Joined with Arsenal as well, so they shared those 4 defeats each. But 10-point difference over Arsenal at the end. Of course, 84 points of Liverpool, 71 of Manchester City, and then just 69 of Chelsea, 66 joined Newcastle, Aston Villa. There was no match for Liverpool. To be honest, if there was one upset from this season in terms of the final position, I have to say Manchester City, you lucky dogs. How on earth did you pull this top 5 finish after losing 9 games? Like, that is unheard of. Losing 9 games in a single Premier League season, it's just beyond me. Like, I don't know, maybe... Okay, of course, like, we have to give credit where credit is due. Like, in the last 5 games, 4 victories. Pep Guardiola, like, he somehow find those last ounces of magic, and he just put it right into the squad again. And there you go, Manchester City third. Although, I think it would be more fair if Manchester City finished 6th. Like, when we look at the entire season, but maybe it's just wishful thinking, I don't know.
I think City have done really exceptionally well to get 3rd place this year, considering the run of form they went on, the fallout at the club. I think they've disappointed in so many ways for their standard. I think I'd tend to agree with you, but that's the sign of a really quality team. I think when you can win or end up in a place where you're in a good place, the 3rd is a fantastic achievement for them considering the season they've had. And when you can do that, it's a sign of a really good team. I think it shows depth in the squad. I guess one thing I wanted to mention as we wrap up the league, the season, is, and I have brought it up before on the podcast, but the depth in ability to stay up this season has been, more obvious than ever. I would go as far to say, with those teams going straight back down. I don't know. I don't know where you feel about it. Is it a financial problem? Is it a lack of depth in the squad? Is it a naivety to how they play the football in the Premier League against Premier League sides? I'm struggling to understand, because we have seen so many teams do it successfully, and now they're very well established teams in the Premier League. One of those has just come back up. In Sunderland, Burnley have never become an established team, but they're always up and down. Leeds, again, not for over 20 years have they been an established football team. So I find it really interesting, this yo-yoing that teams are doing. It seems to be similar teams. Huge achievement for Sunderland getting up, but I don't know. What do you think? What do you think the crux of that matter is?
I guess the fact that I think we've already mentioned that, and that the fact this Premier League becomes increasingly competitive. So those teams from Championship, I think, like before, like when we talk about 2000s or 2010s, like those times of English football, I do not think that there was such a big gap in terms of like sporting quality between those bottom teams, like from the bottom half of the table of Premier League and top half of the table of Championship. But I think now, like the competitiveness of Premier League forces those top Championship teams to step up next season in the Premier League, because if they do not, then they will end up just like Ipswich Town, for example, or just like Southampton, or just like Leicester. So I mean, I guess it's the level. The level of Premier League is going increasingly high every single season, and would I say that level of Championship stays the same? Of course not, because like that is the nature of development. But it's not growing as high as Premier League at the moment. I think that is the reason why all of those shortcomings of Leicester, Ipswich, and Southampton could be explained. I think like that's my take on it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting one, and I really hope that the teams coming up do justice to being in the Premier League and the hard work they've done, because getting out of the Championship is an incredible feat, and yeah, they should be very proud to do so. I guess I want to conclude this episode by asking you for two predictions. The first one, I want you to go here on the 25th, 26th, when this goes out, of May. Who is going to walk away this time next year? So in 12 months' time, who's going to be having the title? Is it going to be Liverpool lifting it again, or do you see another team doing it?
I'll throw the curse and I'll say Arsenal will finally clinch the title. Next year.
Interesting. I'm going to back City to do it next year. I think they'll come back stronger than we probably expect. It's a really low total as well this year. If you look at how many points Liverpool won it with compared to previous seasons, yeah, it wouldn't challenge many other seasons. However, we will see. And then the other one is quite a nice one. What's one shock that you expect to happen? It can be a bad one or a good one. So what's one shock that you expect to happen next season?
That is a difficult question. Wow, what a shock.
I'll go first. United will get in the top half.
I see what you're doing here. Okay, so if that's the caliber that we're going with, then I will just go out on a limb and I will say that the biggest shock will be... okay, maybe not the biggest shock, just any shock. Let's put it this way. Nottingham Forest, top 3.
Nottingham Forest make the top 3. I mean, I hope you're right. They've got a team and a stadium that's set up for European football, so why not go all the way to Champions League and ruin the party twice?
Amazing.
Michał, it's been an absolute pleasure. We will be putting out special episodes as we lead up to the Conference League final that you're heavily involved in. But as we conclude the 2024-2025 campaign, where Liverpool clinch the Premier League title, Leicester City, Ipswich Town and Southampton have another year to clinch back into Premier League status. Can Man United make the top half of the table. Will Nottingham Forest make European football again next year? It remains to be decided, but what is for sure is that GSPN will bring you daily content out of the Premier League for you. It's goodbye from me.
Thank you.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.